I'm not proud of what I did that night. But I'm not sorry either. You ever reach that point where being the reliable one stops feeling like virtue and starts feeling like a trap? That's where I was. My name's Mark. I'm 36, mid-level DevOps at a mid-sized tech firm that calls itself Lean, which in corporate language means too few people doing too much work while one person gets the credit. For us, that person was Jenna. She had this polished charm that made upper management eat from her hand. Smart enough to understand buzzwords, confident enough to sell half-done work as agile progress. Her favorite trick? Claiming she stayed late to monitor critical deployments. In reality, she'd vanish by 8, leave the messy back-end patches to me, and take victory laps in the morning stand-up. I didn't mind it at first. I've always been the quiet cleaner. Fix the bug, save the night, let others sleep easy. But after months of overtime without acknowledgement, something in me started to crack. The last straw came one Friday night, the kind of night where the air in the office smells like burnt coffee and cheap ambition. We'd just rolled a small patch to production, a scheduling script for a logistics client that didn't matter to anyone except the people it would ruin if it broke. Jenna had been assigned as lead, but she left at 7:45, tossing a "don't wait up" over her shoulder. She posted in Slack 10 minutes later. Still here, pulling a late one commitment. A lie wrapped in emojis. Classic Jenna. At 8:17 p.m., I saw her VPN session drop. At 8:18, I saw the security badge log her exit. At 8:20, my inbox pinged with an automated alert. Cron failure. Schedule. Task 208 exit code 1. The thing about production bugs is they don't care about optics. The system was failing and her overtime ghost had already clocked out. I pushed back from my desk, cracked my knuckles, and stared at her empty chair across the aisle. The little ceramic cat she kept on her monitor still grinned up at me, smug and shiny. I opened Slack and typed, "Hey Jenna, cron job failed. Need you back on deck for rollback confirmation." No reply. 5 minutes. 10. Then she DM'd back, "Still in the office. On a call. Can you rerun manually?" I almost laughed out loud. My screen showed her status as offline. VPN dead. Building logs clear. I even checked the camera feed from the 7th floor corridor. Empty chairs. One flickering monitor light. I deleted my response 3 times before typing it again. "Sure thing. Just need your sign-off in the system. Facilities locks the 7th floor server cage at 11. Change window closes at 11:30. Your badge shows off-site. You okay to sign off remotely?" I didn't send it yet. I hovered. Because that text, simple as it looked, was a loaded gun. Once it left my screen, everything could change. If she called me out, I'd look like a jealous coworker nitpicking logs. If she ignored it, I'd have proof. Either way, the truth was about to breathe. I leaned back and looked around the office. Empty desks. The soft hum of the HVAC. The glow of monitors left on like half-closed eyes. I'd spent hundreds of nights here, fixing what others broke, eating vending machine sandwiches, watching dawn smear the glass walls pink, all so someone else could brag about team effort. I realized that I wasn't angry at Jenna anymore. I was angry at myself for letting her build a ladder out of my silence. I pressed send and waited. For a minute, nothing. Then my phone buzzed. Twice. "What do you mean off-site? I'm literally here." LOL. Another ping. "Wait, how do you even see my badge status?" That one made me smile. She was rattled. "IT magic," I wrote back, keeping it playful. "We all get alerts for active sessions. Don't stress. Just need the sign-off before the window closes. Or you can pop back in if you want to finish the push yourself." The typing dots flickered, stopped, started again. "Can't, in the restroom. Be right there." Except the restroom lights on camera hadn't turned on. I didn't respond. I let silence do the work. 10 minutes later, her VPN flickered online again. Not from the office network, but from her home IP. She was scrambling, trying to fake presence with a remote session. The system flagged it as unsecured location, residential subnet. I took a screenshot, timestamp, IP trace, stored it in a private audit folder, not to trap her, but to finally draw a line in the sand. By 10:30, I had everything: logs, Slack messages, badge history. I created a read-only summary called Overnight Deployment Risk and shared it with my boss and SecOps under the pretext of transparency. No accusations, just data, a record of what really happened. My boss replied 2 minutes later, "Good catch. Let's have a quick check-in before the window closes," adding Jenna. Perfect. At 10:48, my phone buzzed again. "Hey, can you stall the call? Parking's insane tonight." Parking. She'd actually driven back. I leaned forward, watching the security feed again. The front door camera caught her. Hair half-tied, coat thrown over sweats, badge in hand, breath fogging in the cold air as she begged the guard to let her in. The irony almost hurt. She wasn't racing to fix the system. She was racing to fix the lie. That was the moment something in me clicked quiet. No anger, no rush. Just a cold, steady calm. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the janitor cleaning someone else's disaster. I felt free. By the time she burst through the glass doors, out of breath and flustered, my boss was already joining the Zoom call. The screen glowed with the company logo, my audit logs ready to share, and Jenna's name appearing in the participant list with the little gray connecting icon spinning. I muted my mic, took one last look at her reflection in the hallway glass, the hero mask slipping, and whispered to myself, "This time, you stay late for real." The call started at 11:02 p.m., one of those emergency quick syncs that always turns into an audit. My boss, Daniel, joined with that stiff, performative calm of someone who secretly enjoys other people's crises. Jenna's icon blinked gray, then lit up green. Her camera came on halfway, shaky frame, heavy breathing, hair a little too undone for someone who'd been in the office all night. "Hey, sorry," she said, breathless. "Had to step out for a bit. Coffee run. You know how it is." "Sure," Daniel replied. "Mark looped us in because the deployment window's closing. Let's walk through what went wrong." I shared my screen, the system dashboard glowing in blue, timestamps lined like quiet soldiers. Cron job failed at 8:17. No rollback approval. I held the push to avoid overwriting the data sync. Jenna jumped in too quickly. "Right, I was just, testing locally when it failed. I messaged Mark to rerun manually." Daniel frowned slightly. "Locally?" "Yeah," she said. "My laptop. Still connected to the network." I clicked the Active Connections tab. There it was. Her session from a residential IP block, logged as unauthorized remote host. 22.7 miles away. I didn't say a word. I just let the silence hang. Daniel noticed. "Jenna," he said slowly. "You were off-site?" She laughed, too loud. No, that's wrong. I was here." "Maybe the system misread it?" I could see her eyes darting, scanning the screen, realizing every metric contradicted her. The badge logs, the VPN drop, the camera feed. And that was before the kicker, her Slack message, timestamp 9:10 p.m. "Still here, still debugging." Daniel rubbed his temples. "We can't have inconsistencies like this, especially not on production. Mark, can you pull a short report?" "Already have it," I said, keeping my tone flat. I opened the folder labeled Overnight Deployment Risk. Inside, screenshots, session logs, and her Slack thread where she told me, "Still in the office." For a second, the only sound was her shaky breathing through the mic. Then she tried to recover. "Okay, look." I stepped out for a bit. "My friend called. Family emergency. But I came right back when I saw your message, Mark." Daniel tilted his head. "You came back when you saw the message at 10:30? She nodded eagerly. "Exactly. Security logs show you re-entered at 10:51. Her face froze. That 21-minute gap, just wide enough to swallow a lie whole. I stayed quiet. This wasn't my moment to gloat. This was her moment to hang herself with her own timeline. She tried to laugh again. "Okay, fine. Maybe I mixed up the times. The point is I'm here now, and everything's fine." Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked tired. This isn't about being fine, Jenna. It's about integrity. If you weren't here, you should have just said so. Mark's covered this system for 3/4 straight. We depend on honesty, not heroics. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was surgical. I could feel her pulse through the quiet, rapid, and fragile. But Jenna wasn't done. She turned the lens. Mark, you could have told me before looping everyone in. This feels unnecessary. Almost like you're trying to make me look bad. Her tone was sweet poison. I looked straight at my camera. Jenna, I didn't call this meeting. I documented the issue for audit. Same as always. You were tagged automatically. Daniel nodded. That's correct. It was my call to review the logs. Mark followed protocol. She swallowed hard, eyes darting down. She knew what that meant. HR and SecOps had seen the chain, and once compliance saw the phrase unauthorized remote activity, it was over. Still, she tried a last, desperate pivot. Can I just push the fix? We're wasting time. Daniel looked wary. What fix? She turned her camera down, showing her laptop screen, a USB stick plugged in, her cursor hovering over a file named manual patch 3 final.zip. I felt my stomach tighten. External media on production. That was an automatic violation. We'd been drilled on it 100 times. Jenna? Daniel said sharply. Stop. Do not touch that environment. She froze. It's the same file I was working on earlier. Where did that come from? From my local build, she whispered. Daniel looked straight into the camera. Unplug the USB, right now. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then her hand trembled, yanking the drive out. I could almost hear the HR notification being drafted somewhere in the digital ether. The rest of the call dissolved into protocol talk. Daniel scheduling a morning compliance review, reminding us to lock the environment, mentioning security escalation. Jenna stayed silent, staring down, pretending to take notes. When the call ended, I sat in the empty office for a long time. The lights buzzed faintly overhead. The clock on the wall blinked 12:04 a.m. I wasn't shaking with adrenaline. I was strangely calm. There's a kind of peace that comes when you've done everything by the book, and the truth just sits there, undeniable. My phone vibrated. A message from Jenna. Please don't send that report any further. I'll explain everything tomorrow. I typed one word. Already did. No punctuation, no heat, just fact. I looked out over the cubicles, the same rows of screens that had blurred together night after night, while she went home to post stories about grind culture. I'd always thought justice would feel like triumph. It didn't. It felt like breathing after holding it too long. At 12:20 I packed my bag. The security guard nodded as I left, his radio murmuring softly. On the counter beside him lay Jenna's ID badge, confiscated, turned upside down. I didn't ask why. I didn't have to. Outside, the city air was cold and sharp. My phone buzzed again, a final message from Daniel. We'll loop you into the compliance review in the morning. Good job keeping it professional. I typed back, understood. Then I walked to my car, started the engine, and let the dashboard light wash over my hands. For once, I wasn't dreading tomorrow. For once, I wanted it to come faster, because morning meant daylight, and daylight meant truth. Morning came too bright for the kind of night we'd just had. I'd barely slept, not out of guilt, but because my mind wouldn't stop replaying her face on that call, the twitch in her smile when the evidence started to stack, the sound of her voice cracking when Daniel said the word integrity. By 9 a.m., the office felt different, quiet in a new way, the kind of quiet that knows something's about to break. HR's glass conference room glowed like an aquarium, blinds open, table cleared, coffee untouched. Jenna was already there when I arrived, sitting perfectly still, hands clasped on the table. Her makeup was immaculate, but her eyes were swollen. The mask was cracking, but she was still wearing it. Morning, Mark, Daniel said, nodding. He looked tired, but calm. Beside him sat Karen from HR, typing methodically into a laptop. We'll make this quick. Jenna, I want you to walk us through last night in your own words. Jenna straightened. Her voice trembled just enough to sound vulnerable, not guilty. She was good at this. There's been a huge misunderstanding. I was working late, like I said, but I had to step out for a family emergency. I didn't think it would matter if I stayed connected remotely. I was just trying to fix the issue. Karen's eyes flicked up from her notes. You told your manager and your colleague that you were in the office the entire time. Yes, Jenna said softly, because I didn't want it to look like I abandoned my post. Daniel folded his arms. You didn't just misrepresent your location. You falsified system activity, Jenna. You sent Slack messages claiming to be running tests while your VPN session was inactive. I was multitasking, she snapped, and then caught herself forcing a smile. Look, I was stressed. It was a mistake. Karen tapped a key. The speakers clicked, and my stomach tightened when I saw what she'd queued up. The building security feed. Time-stamped 8:18 p.m. Showing Jenna leaving through the lobby doors. Coat on, phone in hand. No ambiguity. Karen turned the screen toward her. This is you leaving? Jenna hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but I came back. The video cut to her re-entry at 10:51 p.m., clutching a coffee, nearly jogging. Daniel's voice was flat. Over 2 hours later, during which Mark handled the failed cron job, documented the issue, and initiated the audit log. That's what allowed us to prevent a data overwrite. I didn't know. Jenna's voice cracked for real this time. I thought he'd just cover for me like always. That silence, that one moment, hit the room like a slap. Daniel's head lifted slowly. Karen's fingers paused mid-keystroke. Excuse me? Daniel asked. Jenna blinked, realizing what she'd said. I mean, Mark's always the one who steps in. Her voice trailed off. Daniel looked at me. Is that true, Mark? I didn't look at Jenna. I kept my eyes on the folder in front of me. I've covered missing tickets before, yes. But last night wasn't about cover. It was about risk mitigation. Good, Daniel said. That's the difference between accountability and enablement. Jenna was unraveling fast. This is ridiculous. You're making it sound like I'm some kind of fraud. I've worked here for 3 years. 2 years and 4 months, Karen corrected quietly. And we've reviewed your timesheets for the last 6. She turned her screen again, revealing columns of overtime unverified. Every instance tied to Mark's log deployments. The color drained from Jenna's face. You think No, those were just overlapping schedules. Karen didn't respond. She slid a printed form across the table. A statement of review. You can write your explanation here. Legal will finalize the decision. Jenna's breath hitched. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something close to fear. Not the fear of getting caught, but the fear of losing the image she'd built. The hard-working hero, the late-night savior, the one management praised while I ghosted behind her screen. Mark, she whispered, please, say something. I took a breath. The air felt heavy in my chest. For a split second, I remembered the dozens of nights she'd left early. The fake smiles, the Slack messages at 11 p.m., pretending to monitor progress. The countless quiet times I'd fixed her code so the company wouldn't crash and she wouldn't get embarrassed. And for the first time, I didn't rescue her. There's nothing left to say, I told her. Karen nodded slowly. Then we're done here. Jenna stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. You think this is justice? Fine. Fire me. But don't pretend you're saints. Everyone lies a little in this place. You just hate that I did it better. She stormed out, heels striking the tile like hammers. The glass door hissed shut behind her, leaving the faint smell of expensive perfume and panic. Daniel exhaled. I'll loop legal. Good work last night, Mark. You handled it with restraint. I nodded, but I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. Like I'd finally washed off a film I'd carried too long. Karen gathered her notes. For what it's worth, she said softly, People like that survive because good people keep cleaning up after them. You did the right thing. I watched the rain slide down the glass, thin streaks catching the light. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel used. I just felt done. Outside, through the blurred window, I saw Jenna in the parking lot, pacing, phone pressed to her ear, mascara streaking in the drizzle. She wasn't the golden coworker anymore. She was just another person learning what happens when the lie runs out of room to breathe. By noon, her name disappeared from Slack. Email auto-replied. This user no longer exists. No announcement, no drama, just digital silence. The corporate version of a closed door. And as strange as it sounds, I didn't celebrate. I just saved my work, closed every tab, and walked out for lunch under the gray sky, letting the drizzle hit my face like punctuation. Because some stories don't need revenge. They just need to end. The following Monday felt unnaturally still. No one mentioned Jenna, but her absence hung over the office like a missing sound, the faint hum that suddenly isn't there. Her chair was empty, her monitor dark, the little ceramic cat she used to keep perched on her desk boxed and gone. It was as if she'd never existed, except for the faint smell of her perfume still clinging to the fabric divider. Corporate amnesia works fast. By the second day, her name had vanished from the team roster, her permissions revoked, her Slack DMs grayed out. But in every meeting, every side glance, people remembered. They just didn't say it out loud. Daniel stopped by my cubicle that morning. He didn't knock, just hovered, coffee in hand. Compliance wrapped up the investigation, he said. They confirmed falsified overtime reports, external media use, and breach of security protocol. Legal signed off on termination. I nodded. I figured. She tried to contest it, he added. Claimed the logs were manipulated. SecOps audited them twice. Everything checked out. Yeah, I said quietly. They usually do. Daniel hesitated, then smiled. Small, tired, but genuine. You did good, Mark. I know it wasn't easy. You've been keeping this department afloat for a long time. It's time that actually counted for something. He handed me an envelope. Thin, but official. Promotion notice. Senior release integrity engineer. Pay bump, small bonus, new responsibilities. I should have felt proud, but all I felt was relief, the kind that sinks deep and stays quiet. Thanks, I said, but I want to make one condition. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Okay? No more fake hero shifts, I said. No more people claiming overtime they don't work, or sleeping under their desks for show. We rotate night coverage properly. Everyone sees the schedule. No silent favors. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Done. That afternoon, I stayed late, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see the system breathe without chaos. The hum of the servers was steady, rhythmic, almost alive. I'd cleaned up the last of Jenna's old scripts, annotated the broken cron jobs, rebuilt the deploy pipeline. Everything ran like clockwork now, quiet, precise, accountable. At 10:47 p.m., I initiated the nightly build. The progress bar crept forward, smooth and green, no errors. My reflection in the monitor looked different. Not triumphant, not smug, just steady. Somewhere in my mind, I thought of Jenna. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. She'd done what people like her always do, built castles out of noise and charm, then collapsed under the weight of their own performance. She didn't invent the system. She just played it better than most, until it played her back. I opened her old Slack thread. The last message she ever sent me was still there. Please don't send that report any further. I'll explain everything tomorrow. No timestamp after that. Just silence. I hovered over the delete icon, then didn't. Some records are better left untouched, not as revenge, but as memory. A reminder of what happens when you trade honesty for applause. The office lights dimmed automatically at 11. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the servers purr. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for something to break. I wasn't waiting for someone else to call my name. I pulled up the new team schedule and added a simple note to the rotation header. Every shift matters equally. Then I hit save. Outside, the city glowed faintly through the tinted windows, traffic like veins of light threading through darkness. I packed my things, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked out through the quiet hall. The security guard at the front desk nodded as I passed. "Late night again, Mr. Lawson?" "Last one," I said. He smiled. "Good to hear." I stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of the seventh floor reflection. Rows of clean desks, silent monitors, and that empty chair by the window where Jenna used to sit. The lights above it flickered once, then steadied, as if the building itself was exhaling. Outside, the night air was cold and thin. I unlocked my car, slid into the seat, and started the engine. The dashboard glowed pale blue. I checked the system monitor on my phone. Build complete. 100% success. A small line blinked below it. Deployed by M. Lawson, 230241. No applause, no audience, just a clean log, the quiet proof that things worked the way they were supposed to. I smiled. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't invisible. I didn't need anyone to notice either. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I sent one final message to the team. "Ship's green, go home, rest easy." Then I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, rolled down the window, and let the cool air wash over my face. No anger, no satisfaction, just the deep, steady calm that comes when justice doesn't need to shout, when truth, finally, speaks for itself.